Fract OSC is a first-person exploration game that combines dynamic sound with puzzle elements and all takes place in what could only be described as the inner workings of a giant synthesizer, or maybe what goes on in the heads of Daft Punk. Joining what's now become a large catalogue of first-person walkers that focus on exploration rather than confrontation, Fract OSC uses sound as the motivation behind almost everything that exists within this giant synthesized sandbox. And from the outset, it really is a stunning world to explore. Giant cavernous spaces pulsate with bright neon beams, hard-edged minimalist walls cut through the scenery, and all about abounds with digital flotsam and jetsam that really make you feel like you're walking around a computer's circuit board. Meanwhile, the buzzing ambient soundtrack hints at the potential energy lying within the machine itself, waiting to be unleashed. As you begin to explore, you're encouraged to poke and prod at the world, which at this stage lies dark and dormant. And you'll quickly discover that to do this, you'll need to activate an alternate vision mode that reveals an array of buttons, switches, and dials. It's sort of like Batman's detective vision, if he was in a nightclub. And it's a neat little trick that works well on its own. It also does a good job of hiding some of the more gamey elements when you're just leisurely strolling around this humongous hard disk. Unfortunately, because the game relies so heavily on this mechanic and you can't use it while you're walking, you'll find you have to keep stopping and starting all the time and switching it on and off again. Eventually, you'll just have to go by trial and error to find what you need to do next. So when you do eventually find what you're looking for, it's never as rewarding as it should be. This same problem tends to occur when navigating the game's huge environment, which, while it is stunning to look at, is so open and lacking in signposts that I never really felt confident in my choice of direction. Often, I just found myself wandering off the edge of the world out of equal measure confusion and frustration. To counter this, there is a rather ambiguous transport system that you can use to travel between checkpoints based in each of the game's 3 coloured zones, but this too was rather disorientating and got me lost more often than not. Once you do, however, find the right path and a point to activate, you'll be able to interact with the world to solve small platforming puzzles. And you'll do this by rotating panels, shifting stairs, or redirecting energy beams to power up the world one section at a time. These platforming brain teasers start out simple enough, but eventually open up into far more complex and obtuse problems that will have you pausing and pondering on more than one occasion. The sheer scale of some of these puzzles means you'll regularly have to take a moment just to stand back and try and wrap your head around the whole puzzle. It's a feeling I haven't really experienced since playing the Portal games, and a nice one at that. As you begin to piece together each of these puzzles, the game's soundtrack will also do the same, complementing each correct move with an additional instrument or beat. It's a surprisingly pleasant accompaniment that helps motivate you to keep plugging away while building up the electric atmosphere of the world. Sadly, I can't really say the same for the music puzzles themselves. These are presented as bars of timed beats that you'll need to fill with notes, usually to sustain some sort of wave of energy. It's definitely a novel approach to a puzzle, but the constant audible repetition combined with the somewhat random feel to the solutions never felt satisfying enough or really even enjoyable in the first place.
Play with these. Just, oh, no, I broke it.
Luckily, by completing both these and the platforming puzzles, you'll unlock a whole range of different modifiers and synthesizers that you can then go back and access at the starting hub. This is where you can design and create your own synthetic masterpieces, and even save or import other creations into your game. I found myself having a lot of fun just messing about with this little tool, lighting up the world with my own musical mayhem, as well as coming back each time I discovered a new synth beat or modulation. Unfortunately, I have to admit that I never got around to unlocking them all. I just couldn't be fracked.
Keep going. Yep, do it. Ah!
And that's because I wish I'd felt more compelled to jump back into this large, ominous space and explore every last area. But the truth is that without even a trace of narrative to follow, I found the very low-stakes objectives of just adding musical tones and coloured beats wasn't really enough to push me through the more arduous puzzles and the many dead ends that I kept running into. Fract OS C may be a dazzling trip inside a digital dreamscape machine, but it's only really a short one, and only worth taking if you're interested in literally getting lost within the soundscapes of your games. So I'm giving it a 6.